Hi viewers, welcome to interview preparation on object-oriented programming of Java. Here we are going to discuss about the 10 questions. We'll go by one on object-oriented programming. Question number 1, which says what is a class in Java? To explain this, a class is nothing but a blueprint or a template for creating different objects which defines its properties and behaviors. Java class object exhibits the properties and behaviors defined by its class. A class can contain fields and methods to describe the behavior of the object, and a class is a user-defined data type by which we can create our own defined data type also. And basically this class is a blueprint. So class is a logical entity which is can be used for creating the objects, and Java objects obviously when you are creating, so it will contain the properties and behaviors what the class has. A class can contain fields, that is the variables, and the methods, okay, that is the your functions which can describe the behavior of that particular object. When you are creating a class, you can create a class like student class or employee class, or you can create a class for an account or a customer. So there are different type of your real-time class which we can create, and they will contain the behaviors and the properties also. To write a sample class, this is the way how you could write, like class name, and the class name should be in a true case, and you can define the properties of the class as a variables, that is called your properties of the class, and the behavior of the class you can be defined after that, which is called your methods. And then you can write the main method. The main method, from here the execution will start the program, and the object creation code and calling that particular method will be done from the main method also. So this is nothing but the class in Java. We can explain this way. So coming to the second question, that is what is an object in Java? An object is a physical as well as logical entity, whereas class is a logical entity only. So physical and logical entity in the sense, the object is a physical existence which is there, and the class does not have the physical existence, that will be called as a logical entity only. An entity that has state and behavior is known as object. So coming to the point, any particular object will have a state. State is the values of that particular object, and the behavior, it is nothing that what it can do, that is the functionality of that particular object also. An object has three characteristics, that is state, behavior, and the identity of that object. When I'm saying about state, it is represents the data or the value of an object. When I'm talking about a employee, so the state of an object, the values of that particular employee, ID, name or age, or the salary, anything that the total representation of that is called your state. Behavior, which represents the behavior of an object, such as deposit, withdraw in a bank, these all the functionality, what it is called as an behavior of a particular object. And identity is nothing but the object identity is typically implemented by a unique ID. Like the value of ID is not visible to the external user, but it is used by the internally by the JVM to identify each object uniquely. Maybe you can say in an employee ID can be a unique ID, can be there for which is going to differentiate between one object to the another object, which can act as an identity to that object. So this is the way how you can explain about an object also. What are the four features of object-oriented programming? This is the question 3, which says there are four features of the object-oriented programming system. They are like this. We have abstraction, which says that process of hiding the implementation details from the user. Only the functionality will be provided to the user. So which the user does not have anything, like the user which does not required by the user, that will be hidden from the user. So only the essential details should be shown to the user. So that is called your abstraction. And encapsulation, on the other hand, it is called as a mechanism of wrapping the data member and the code member, that is called your method, into a single unit, that is called your encapsulation, and a class is the basis for encapsulation. Polymorphism, on the other hand, is the ability of an object to take on many forms. There are two main concepts which is exhibits the polymorphism in Java, that is nothing but your overriding and overloading. are the two concepts which is exhibits the polymorphism. Inheritance, in the other word, can be defined as the process where one class acquires the properties and behaviors of another class to create a new class. So that is called your inheritance. So these are the four features what it is been defined by the object oriented programming. Now coming to the question number 4, what is a constructor in the Java class? So that we are going to discuss now. So constructor in Java is a special type of method that is used to initialize the object, and Java constructor is invoked at the time of object creation. It constructs the values, that is provides the data for the objects, that is why it is known as a constructor. It has the same as it is the class name, the same name, that is whatever the class name it will be there, the same name it will be provided to the constructor, and it does not return any kind of your value. Normally methods will return a value, but however constructor will not return any value. And there are two different kind of your constructor which can present in a class, that is default constructor and parameterized constructor also. So here that is what about your constructor. There is an example. A class we have created called as an employee. I can have the properties of the class, and if you see that public employee, where I have written that particular code which is called your constructor, where I can write that whatever the default values can be initialized for the employee class, we can write it here. We can have behavior of the class where the methods and everything can be written over here, and I can have a main method where you can write the code for writing or for executing the methods of the class. We can create an object and everything. So this is how we can create a simple constructor within a class. We can represent like this. So this is way how you can define the constructor in a particular class. Now the next thing, that is nothing but your question number 5, that is what is a method in Java and how we need to write a method in Java. So Java method is a collection of statements that are grouped together to perform an operation. A method is a subprogram that acts on data and often returns a particular value. If you remember, when we talk about the constructor, we say that constructor does not return any value, but however method returns a particular value. Each method has its own name. It can be called at any point in a program simply by utilizing the method name. So object dot method name, by which we can call the method also. For writing a method, the syntax is access specifier, modifier, that is return type, name of the method. Access specifier, here it can be public or a default or a protected, or it can be your private also. Modifier, it can be final, static, abstract, all this will be comes under the modifier. Return type, it can be any data type, that can be void, integer, or it can be your double value also. And name of the method, when you are writing, it is nothing but any method like display, show, or calculate, any of the method which we can be written over this. Then we can have the parameter list, and depending on that we can write a method like public, static, int add method, which is there. We are taking two parameters, int I and int j are the two parameters which we can pass, and this will be added and it will be returned the value also. So this is the way how you could create a simple application for creating a method, and how that method has to be written, that we have been discussed. Now coming to the question number 6, what is the difference between a constructor and a method? So if you see that there is a table I have specified here, the difference between a constructor and a Java method. Constructor is used to initialize the state of an object. So if you want to initialize the values of an object, we will use the constructor. But method is used to expose the behavior of the object. It can do anything like calculation, maybe the volume, maybe the area, any kind of your things are called as a methods. Constructor must not have a return type, as I told you already, but method will have a return type with a specific data type. Constructor is invoked implicitly. Why we say that? Because when we create an object, that time only constructor will be gets created. Whereas methods will be invoked explicitly, that is method need to be called by an object. The Java compiler provides a default constructor if you do not have any constructor in that particular class. Method is not provided by the compiler in any cases. So it has to be called by the object only. constructor name must be the same name as the class name. But however, in the case of your method, it is not same. It may or may not be the same with the class name also. So that is the differences between the constructor and a method. So now we'll go for the next question. What is a private constructor? Do we have the private constructor in Java? Yes. Okay, the use of private constructor is to create or serve singleton classes. If I want to create, then we can go for the private constructor. A singleton class is one, okay, which limits the number of objects created by to one. That means, okay, we can ensure that, okay, a particular class can have only one object by defining that particular class as a singleton. And to create a singleton class, we need to specify private constructor. So using private constructor, we can ensure that no more than one object can be created at a given point of time. So this is where we can use the private constructor also. Now coming to the next question, that is question number 8. What is a constructor chaining? Constructor chaining is nothing but calling a constructor from another constructor of the same class, known as constructor chaining. So if you have multiple constructor in a particular class, okay, then one constructor may call another constructor. So the calling of the next constructor will be called as a constructor chaining. Like you can see that, okay, class box, we have width, height and depth. We have default constructor like 10, 15 and 20 is the value which we are passing to the parameterized constructor. The 10 will be taken by W and 15 will be taken by H and 20 will be taken by the width. So like that, okay, we can create a default constructor, can pass the values to initialize to the another constructor also. So this kind of things which we can use. So obviously to implement the constructor chaining, we need to use the this keyword, okay, for calling the other constructors also. Now this is way how you can explain about the constructor chaining. Now the next question, it is nothing but your this keyword. As I told you that, okay, this is a keyword in Java we have, and which can be used inside the method or a constructor we can be implementing on that, and it works as a reference to the current object. Instead of, okay, referring as an object name and all, we can refer that as a current object whose method or the constructor is being invoked. This keyword is used to refer any member. So this is the indirectly you can say that is a current object which is defined by the, okay, current object. And within the instance of the method or a constructor we can be implemented. And this can also be used, okay, just now which we have seen, from one constructor to the another constructor. If I want to call, then I can go for, okay, this keyword also. So this is way how you can define about the this keyword is all about. Next question, the difference between the this keyword and the super keyword. So this is a keyword which is used to store the current object reference, whereas super keyword is used to store superclass non-static members reference in the subclass object, that it will be contained in the super keyword. And in the case of your this keyword, it must be explicitly if non-static variable and local variable name is same, then we have to go for explicitly we have to use the this keyword to refer to the your, okay, the current object, that is to the current class. But whereas super keyword used to separate the superclass and the subclass, if both members are same, okay, then we can write this particular super keyword also. Whenever we have the parent and child class will have the same variable. System.out.println in parenthesis, this will work, okay, it will print the current object reference. But however, if you are trying to print the super keyword within the println method of the super class, okay, then it will give an error to you. So this is the way you can talk about the difference between this and super keyword is all about. Thank you for watching the video.